So a problem you might run into is that you've got this booklet that you want to scan, and you got this page here, and you put it down and you scan it, and then we go and we look at the image to see what we got.
Here's our scan, and if we open this, you see here in the middle, we got this reflection. And in this case, this one, there's some details here that you don't really want to have to try to mess with a clone stamper because it's going to be hard to match all those little patterns in there. So there's a way to fix this with the scanner itself, and let's look at that.
The really easy fix to that is that what's happening is as the light is moving this way, it shines on the pattern of this, the dip in the paper, and as it follows that dip, it creates uneven reflections. And so that camera in the scanner element, as it's moving, it picks up all those different reflections and puts them all together, and you end up with that weird haze. So the way you fix that is you just make it to where it's always constant in how it's reflecting on that fold. And the way you do that is you just put the fold in line with the scanning element. So now it goes this way. But the problem is that you the scanning bed is not big enough to do one booklet at the whole booklet fold out at the same time. So you're always going to get this part cut off. But there's a way to put this all together and make it work. So we will go ahead and scan that. I'm just going to put a weight right on top of that fold, and then we'll scan it.
And here's our next scan with it rotated. And you see there is no reflection at all. It's a very clean scan. But the problem is, as we saw, half of this one page is hanging off of the scanning bed. So how can we use both of these? Get the full scan, but get the clean border. Well, the idea is that we just use this part of this image and we overlay it over the full image. And so I'm going to open this with photo. And you'll want to descreen these images before you do the overlapping. That way you're not messing with not trying to align the halftone pattern. So here we'll descreen that. And then while that's running, I'm going to crop this image down because I don't need to descreen that whole entire thing. It'll just be time that we don't need. So I'm just going to crop it down to here. Okay, and then I'll save that. So this one should descreen much faster. Okay, and then we'll go back here and wait for this to finish doing its job. All right, so that's done, and now we'll open up. Okay, so this one go a lot faster. All right, so there, that one finished. And now we will copy this Let me just make sure here. Yeah, 1200 DPI. Okay, so everything should line up. We'll go over here and the layers. Okay, didn't mean to do that. Select it. Now to align this, what we need to do, zoom in and change the opacity to like 50% or something. There we go. 61%. Now we can get that to line up really well. Now some of this could be like if the images were slightly rotated. You see now that I'm down here, got a bit of a, it's off more as I go down further. So as you go, see it's quite a bit. Let's see here. Sometimes you get some weird, like they don't quite scale correctly. I don't know if that'll help. Yeah, that helped. Okay, I just scaled it down a little bit. All right, and now to get this to match really well, let's bring the opacity back up. All right, so see that by itself, that looks pretty spot on. There's really, I mean, if nobody knew what they were looking for here, they wouldn't be able to see anything. But we can make this very seamless if we get the eraser here and we set the hardness kind of low, and then we'll set this, use the bracket keys as a shortcut. And what I'm going to do is just go down the sides here, and I'm going to get rid of this hard edge on the image. So that it kind of feathers from one layer into the other. And now I'll bring that back in. See, that is now seamless. And then if you want, you could merge down. That way they are now one image. And then I'm going to use, I'm going to add a levels here, but I have a shortcut. This one that's preset. Okay. Now look at that. So we've got the entire image, the whole image is there, and we've got a very clean crease in the middle. And once I crop it, there we go. That is a good looking scan. All right, so I will resize this down to 600 DPI. And then that will auto change the resolution. And then we'll export that as a PNG. This was a booklet. I'll just have to fill in. I gotta look at the page number again to see which page this was. All right, so as a bonus clip, let's go back to the original cover of this booklet and show just how easy this is to clean up. Now, this is a pretty Worst case scenario, the solid black, you end up with a lot of reflection. Now on the other one, I just cleaned it up because it was a solid color. I could clean that up with a brush pretty easily. There's no pattern that you're having to deal with. So, but let's clean it up this way and show how quickly this can be done. So I'm going to resave that now that it's cropped and rotated. And then we'll go to this one, which was where I rotated it on the um, flatbed. So do it 180 so it lines up right. And then there I just want the crease. I'm going to save that. Okay. I will open this. Okay. And let's see, we did use the D screen just because of the writing here. Let's get this over. Try that. There we go. All right, the filter's done. So now we'll open up the other image. Okay, so here we do not need to descreen anything because there are no halftones, just a solid black. So I'm going to copy that. And then paste it on top. And then zoom in and go to layers and set the opacity down. I'm going to use the little markers in the crease there. Okay. And I think that should be pretty good. Now we'll bring back the opacity and then get rid of the background layer, and going to delete or erase this. Let's see, let's bring this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, and zoom in. All right, look at that. Okay, now I don't know if this will show on your monitor. I've got an IPS monitor here, and I can see there is a very slight color difference here. This is a little bit brighter than over here where you're seeing behind the layer. Now, normally you can fix this pretty easily by going to levels and then pulling in the black, and that will basically crush the blacks and you won't have that problem anymore. Then you bring up the brightness a little bit, the white, and still there a little bit. Right there, I can see something. So to try and fix this, I'm going to do what we did on this the first time, and we'll just fill this. So I'm going to do merge visible. And so now we've got this top layer here that is all of these other layers put together. And select with the wand. And that's going to select just about everything. Okay. And then go to select, grow, and shrink. And I'm going to do 10 on this. It's going to take a little while to think. And then the selection brush, we'll add. Make sure it's clicked on add right here. And then I'm going to grow this out. Just get all this stuff along here. Okay. For these things, sometimes it's easier to use the marquee. Make sure it's set to add, and you can just go in here and kind of frame these things real quick with the rectangle marquee. Okay, and then sample this color, change the point to 65 by 65. That gives us the black there. And now we got the flood fill, and I added a new layer. And then we will add that. Okay. And then to bring this crease back, do the erase. Let me see. So deselect here. Let's see. It's a little too big. All right, and then just to make it look nice, so I deselected the main background. Um, Add a Gaussian blur to this. There we go. Add that back in. And crop. Let's get rid of this guy so we can see where the original boundary was for this booklet. Okay, apply, turn that back on. There we go. And I can't really see. There's a little bit of, you can see a little bit of the dust shining through. If you wanted to clean this up, man, putting the names over here. Okay, there we go. Make sure you get that same color, and then you can just kind of come in and cover over some of this dust. This is one of those things that probably nobody would ever appreciate. So spend your time accordingly if you think that it may not be worth it. All right, there we go. And then of course, when I shrink this down to 600 by 600, that'll be even less noticeable. And I think that's about it. If we want, we could add a level adjust right there on top of everything and just make it just a little bit like a real black. Okay, so now we can change that. All right, and so see now, let me get the select here. So now you can't even really see that dust now that we've scaled it down by half. So very clean. Totally got rid of that original blue hue, and I mean it's just completely gone. There's no sign of it. So We will export that. There we go. That's it.